You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you're new here, I'm Jordan, and in Keep Canada Weird, my pal Aaron Airport and I typically seek out and explore Canada's offbeat news stories from the past week. However, in tonight's episode, we're going to mix it up a bit. As anyone who listens to this show knows, Keep Canada Weird has correspondents from across the globe, and those correspondents contribute to the show with voice messages they submit via my website, nighttimepodcast.com. In times of abundance, I receive more submissions than the program has time for, and those messages find a temporary home in the Keep Canada Weird mailbag. When the bag gets full, Aaron and I open it up and get caught up on our listener mail. Typically, the Keep Canada Weird mailbag episodes are only available on the Nighttime Podcast's premium feed and on the standalone Keep Canada Weird podcast feed. But as a result of Aaron and I being away this week, Volume 2 of the mailbag episode is being published everywhere. So sit back and let's enjoy revisiting some past Keep Canada Weird stories in the context of listener mail. The show will be back to its regular schedule next week. Handsome Aaron Airport. We got big things to do tonight, and they involve opening up the mailbag. But before we do, how are you?
I'm very good. I spent the day at the beach today. I went to beautiful Kennington Cove Beach in Cape Breton.
On scenic Cape Breton Island.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we did a mailbag episode, we did it live from Toronto at an Airbnb with Randy. This week it's just you and I. We had a minute, so we thought, what the hell, let's pop the bag open and get caught up on the listener mail. So far, I haven't got a kind of a special intro for the mailbag, but I'm thinking we are going to use the song you wrote several weeks back.
Yeah.
Do you recall it?
Yeah, it went something like bag, mailbag.
Yeah, something like that. We got to find out. I'm going to contact Monty Data, who does the music for most things that I put out. I'm going to see if he can come up with something for us, because I think
I just did it. You just have to clip that out and it's perfect.
I think we got a hit on our hands.
I could add some pews into it. Pew, mailbag.
Yeah, is the bihu the sound of, there's an instrument where it's like a stick with like a kind of a circular cylinder and you spin it. It's like,
no, I was imagining it as a sound that like a DJ would make from
just
their turntables.
There's just a button you hit.
Some kind of a here we go.
Okay.
Bag.
Okay. This isn't about songwriting. This is the Keep Canada Weird mailbag. We receive a lot of voice messages and voicemail on this show from listeners across the world. They send it to us by going to nighttimepodcast.com/contact and using the voice recorder. We get more mail than we have time to air in the regular weekly Keep Canada Weird episodes. All the mail that doesn't get aired sits in a separate folder until it builds up to the point that we got to pop the bag open and pull some letters out. And that's what we're doing tonight. This is the second volume of the Keep Canada Weird mailbag. Most of these voicemails relate to episodes over the last month or two. But my mission is to kind of by, say, volume 3 of this mailbag series, I want to get caught up so each one will really just be the last 2 or 3 episodes. So we're going to be going back a little bit further than I'd like for some of these voicemails, but let's just get right into it. Do you want to jump right in, or is there anything we should do before we start talking, before we start listening?
You didn't ask me what I'm drinking.
Oh, shoot. Well, I'm not going to ask you anymore. I'm just going to tell you that I, again, am drinking a cup of tea.
And I, again, am back to my old staple of sugar-free, caffeine-free Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola is
a soda?
No.
A beverage? What?
Close.
A drink? What?
I'm calling, typically in comedy you call back. I'm actually calling forward to something because there's a voicemail we're going to get about how we refer to that drink that you had in your hand. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. Yeah, you'll see what I mean.
I'm looking forward to that. Okay.
Let's start though. Let's go back to the 9th of April. We talked about the woman who had an odd connection with an octopus. I think she was in Victoria, BC, and she was walking on the beach, and an octopus just kind of wrapped itself around her.
I just all of a sudden started to relax, and then he did. There was a connection. He felt me, and I felt him.
Oh, you're beautiful. Look at you.
It was the best day of my life.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, yeah. We gave her a hard time, actually.
We did give her a hard time, and a listener named Renee suggests that we rethink the way we handled that story. Here's what she has to say.
Hey guys, my name is Renee. I'm from New York in the US. I just listened to your octopus episode. Octopus are actually incredibly intelligent. They recognize human faces, they recognize touch. They're very, very, very smart creatures. Um, so rethink the way you judge your octopi. Thanks.
Do you want to just maybe take turns responding? I can go first.
Yeah, I could go first or second. Yeah, I'm
So
ready.
Renee says octopus are very smart. They can identify human faces. I think when we were the way we responded to the story initially, I don't think we had any criticism towards the octopus. I think we directed our criticism towards the human being in that story. I believe octopi and octopus are intelligent. I think they may be equal to or perhaps even beyond the intelligence of a crow. But that said, I don't consider an octopus an animal or a fish or any creature that even belongs on Earth. Yeah, I don't think you can convince me that an octopus isn't some kind of extraterrestrial life form that somehow landed in our waters and chose to just stay there. Those things are super freaky, and yes, they're smart. I've seen videos of them opening like jars, like turning the lids off of jars to get inside to get the food out of them. These things are brilliant.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We had no issue, and I have no issue with the octopus and I also agree that octopus are or octopi, whatever the plural is, that they are highly intelligent creatures. I 100% agree with that. Our issue and my issue with the woman was and my issue with a lot of people that place human emotions onto animals, like
Mm,
they look at what an animal is doing and they interpret it as, oh, they are loving me, or oh, they are connecting with me in a very deep way, when they don't really know what that animal is thinking. And so I
mhm,
find we can be guilty of that a lot in society, of labeling animals with our what we want them to feel and not necessarily what they are feeling or what their intentions might actually be.
mhm. Yeah, I think when we discussed this story back on the April 9th of 2024 episode, we said that octopus was likely just trying to see if she was delicious enough to kill and eat, where it was the human being who was like, he loves me and I love him. And I have,
Hmm.
this octopus changed my view of life and love, where the octopus was probably just like, not delicious, back to the water.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's just her boots were a nice place to hang out. I don't know. There could be a million different reasons, but it reminds me of the story. I think we covered it, or maybe I'm just remembering this story from the news, but there was a woman who worked at a zoo and the gorilla, like she was got into the cage with the gorilla
Mm.
and
Sounds like a good way to get your
because
head
she was
pounded
always
in.
like coming up to the she worked there, I guess, and she was always coming up to the display or the cage or whatever you want to call it, the enclosement or whatever. And
Just okay, one sec. So the cage, the display, or the enclosement?
yeah, that's a new album I'm working on.
I think let's go with cage. If those are the three options, let's go with
You
cage.
like cage? Okay.
No, the
I just thought
enclosement.
cage sounded too aggressive.
Okay, yeah, enclosement is probably the appropriate term.
Okay. So the enclosement. So she would come up to it every day and she'd be talking to the gorilla, the beast through the enclosement. And she started to interpret a bond or a connection with this animal. So much so that after a period of time went by, she crawled into the enclosement with the beast, and I think he mauled her pretty good.
Yeah, I would imagine that's what would happen.
Yeah, because she was smiling. She was always smiling at the gorilla, and I guess
Okay.
they interpret that as not the same way we do.
Okay.
Showing your teeth to an animal like that can be a sign of
Oh,
aggression.
okay. So he's like, now's my chance.
She's like, "Oh, you're going to show your teeth to me, are you? How would I literally pound you into the ground?"
Ugh. Um, okay, I had a few opportunities to segue from there, but I'm not going to take them. I'm just going to jump into the next bit of voicemail here. This relates to our May 7th episode. One of the stories we discussed on May 7th of 2024 were I think it was two brothers in Quebec who were the province's and perhaps Canada's, maybe even the world's most prolific sperm donors. It came out that they had donated sperm and were selling sperms through Facebook and had like, hundreds of, if not thousands of children as a result of their work.
And these are men offering to be sperm donors for free online and not through fertility clinics. This investigation revealed that two men from the same family had fathered more than 200 children.
A listener named Patrick wants to let us know about a documentary that covers a similar story. And the documentary is called Sperm World. I like that. Listen to this.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. Longtime listener, first-time correspondent. I heard your Keep Canada Weird article on the Quebec sperm donors, and I just watched a documentary last year on Disney Plus called Sperm World by Lance Oppenheim, and it deals with this exact same thing. You should check it out. It's not in French, it's completely in English, I think down in the States, but these people who would go on Facebook groups and not sell their sperm, but basically give it away for free. They were interesting personalities, but it's if you wanted to get a different perspective on this different side of sperm donation, definitely check this out on Disney Plus. Sperm World by Lance Oppenheim.
Sperm World.
Sounds like the world's grossest amusement park.
I think it sounds like it reminds me of this thing that happened to me when I was a teenager. I collected and had a huge collection of skateboarding VHS tapes. And so they'd be like movies where it would be professional skateboarders doing tricks set to music. And they often had a different, like the skateboard movies often had a name. Popular one was Barbarians at the Gate, I remember. But there was a company called Evol. They made skateboards, and Evol is like the word love spelled backwards. I had a VHS tape that said Evol on it, and that was it. And I remember I got home from school one day, and my dad was like, "Jordan, I want to talk to you about something I found in your room." And I was like, and I'm thinking, like, I was probably 14 or 15, and there was probably 100 things in my room that I shouldn't have had. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, like, what is it, Dad?" And he like opened a drawer in our kitchen, and he took out like the tape, and he's like, "Can you explain what this is and where you got it?" And I like immediately realized what was going on, and I'm like, "What do you think that is, Dad?" And he's like, "I know what this is. This is an 18 plus movie." And I said, "No, and I was like, "Did you check? It's not. It's a skateboarding movie." And that was it. He was like apologized and gave it back to me. But
So why did he think that it was a pornography movie? Because love was written backwards?
I still don't know. I should ask him. Really, I think what probably happened is not my dad, but my stepmother found it, jumped to conclusions, and brought it to my father and tasked him with like getting mad at me for having a dirty movie in my room. My dad was just awkwardly approached me and confronted me about it without it doing any background research, and it was just one of the 1,000 billion weird things like that that happened to me through my teenage years.
How does this connect to what we were talking about?
Because Sperm World sounds like a porno.
Oh, I thought it was an amusement park. You thought it was a porno. And now we're so far off topic. It's
yeah, but
it's wild.
It's a Disney movie about the underground. Well, I don't know if it's a Disney movie. It's on Disney Plus about the, I guess, seedy underbelly of
Yeah, seedy.
online sperm, like not sale. Like by the sounds of what he said
No,
there
it
is
sounds like almost like
just
a step below a sperm flea market.
well, it's donation, which seems
Yeah.
why I don't get why someone would do that unless it's like I could see it being some trick to try to like get laid. Maybe it's like I can donate it, but like we'll have to.
But we have to be romantic for 6 months first. Then you may enter sperm world. Which water slide do you want to ride first?
Oh God, yeah, I want to look it up just because I want to see the cover art. I always enjoy the cover of movies, and I just feel like as a someone who has a
I imagine it's just like an empty cup or something. I'm not allowed to Google on this show. So.
after we're done recording, I want to look up what the cover of Sperm World would be. As someone with a bit of an interest in graphic design, I would love to be given the job of like you're designing the cover for a movie called Sperm World. I'd be like, yes.
Disney has asked you to design sperm for them.
This next one's going to be a little more complicated than the typical piece of voicemail because they ask a question and I can go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on this one. So I'll play the voicemail first. This is a listener named Trish who has a question about I guess a tourist attraction in Halifax. Listen to this.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron, it's Trish from Connecticut. I was in Halifax in 2017 and I saw Theodore the tugboat in the harbor there. I'm planning another trip to Halifax, but Theodore's no longer there. Theodore's in Hamilton, Ontario, of all places. My lord. You two should investigate this incident. Take care.
So you know what Trish is talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Theodore, the tugboat, has been in Halifax Harbor for as long as I could remember.
For many years, there's been a boat in the Halifax Harbor that is like a replica of the character from the popular Canadian children's cartoon Theodore Tugboat. The boat in Halifax Harbor, it's usually just parked there and people would just get selfies in front of it and stuff. But you could get on it, I think you could pay to go on like a little drive around the Halifax Harbor in Theodore. But I think at the beginning of the pandemic, things changed for Theodore. He's been in the harbor for as long as I've lived in Halifax. So since 2000-ish, I believe he's been here that whole time. But things changed during the pandemic. I'll play you two news stories that will explain what's going on with Theodore. We'll answer Trisha's question. Let's get caught up on what's up with Theodore. Here comes the first one.
You might recognize Theodore the Tugboat from the hugely popular children's program that aired for 5 seasons in Canada and internationally.
When you look at Theodore's big smiling face, everybody loves Theodore, loves to take their picture by Theodore.
Theodore Tugboat was the brainchild of Canadian television producer Andrew Cochran. The show spun into a book deal, there were toys and memorabilia, even its own children's clothing line. Then came the real-life Theodore II, the Tugboat. Designed and built in 2000, the vessel has been navigating the waters in Halifax Harbor ever since, greeting cruise ships and operating as a tour boat, but not this year. With COVID-19, the tourism industry is hurting, and that meant the tugboat had to be put up for sale to stay afloat.
It isn't translating into economic return for us, so we've been subsidizing Theodore for the recent years.
With a price tag of $495,000, the 65-foot, 105-ton vessel could be yours. It's never actually been used as a tugboat, but it can be. There may be other uses for it too.
Be it a ferry, be it a cafe, an Airbnb, there's so many potentials.
Despite its international acclaim, Campbell hopes the tugboat can be purchased locally, so it's kept in the Halifax Harbor. It seems residents do too. The vessel has tugged their heartstrings.
Well, hopefully someone in the province buys it, and then we can keep it in our harbor, because it's such a great attraction for kids and families and everyone that comes to visit Halifax.
Good end of the clip there, because we get the gist of it. The pandemic, like many things, seems like it may have ruined Theodore tugboat. 20 years of sitting in our harbor, getting selfies taken in front of it. The financials weren't making sense. It was put up for sale. You heard there that the owner was suggesting it could be used as a tugboat. It could be used as a cafe or as,
Or an Airbnb.
yeah, that's a weird idea.
Yeah, that would be maybe the hardest way to make your money back on
It was
Theodore or the tugboat.
$500,000, right? If you use that as an
Yeah.
Airbnb. And it's like Theodore in 2000 when this thing was built. I think the show was probably either still on or would have just recently ended, so people would have had some nostalgia. But I would think in this day and age, kids like they'd have no idea who Theodore Tugboat is. They don't even know who Thomas the Train is. A lot of kids now, like it's things have changed. What they want to see is like a Paw Patrol thing.
Well, just paint it into a Paw Patrol dog and then run it as an Airbnb.
That well, you know what? That would probably work. Well, let's get the final update on this story here. So we heard there that it was up for sale. This will explain to Trish where Theodore is now.
On Thursday morning, a familiar face from the Halifax waterfront will say farewell to Nova Scotia as he sets sail for his new home on Lake Ontario. Theodore 2, the full-size replica of children's TV seagoing star Theodore Tugboat, will hit the waves at 9 a.m. He'll make his way out of Halifax Harbour, accompanied by a fleet of his dockside friends. Its new owner, Blair McKeel of Hamilton-based Breakwater Investments, says the smiling, ball-cap-wearing tugboat will serve several new roles. Besides being an ambassador for Nova Scotia tourism, the 21-year-old vessel will promote water education and conservation with the group Swim, Drink, Fish. He'll also encourage young visitors to consider career opportunities in marine-based industries. You can see Theodore 2 on Thursday morning from any number of harborside vantage points, from historic properties to Point Pleasant Park, as well as along the Dartmouth waterfront. Be advised that COVID-19 protocols remain in effect, and those who make their way to the harbor must maintain social distances and not gather together in large groups.
Man, it's listening to that reminds me so much of how crazy that COVID era was. Like, yeah, we hear the news update. Theodore was sold to some company in Ontario for purposes that seem fairly vague to me. I guess education and to get kids interested.
Yeah, it seemed like when I was listening to them list off, like, and to recruit people to want to work on tugboats and like, I don't know, it was like, is that really going to be an effective way? Like a tugboat with a face on it, you know? Are people gonna
would it be more effective than just taking the $500,000 and like giving some kind of grants or bursaries or something to pursue those sorts of things?
Yeah. Like, I can just picture the kid sitting on the wharf and seeing the tugboat float by and then be like, "Mommy, I no longer want to be an astronaut. I, I want to follow COVID protocols on a tugboat with a face on it."
It seems like another lifetime that all that stuff is going on, but really it was just a couple years back. But anyway, Trish, you asked what happened with Theodore. That's your answer. But don't worry, still come to Halifax. There's better things to do than see a damn tugboat with a face on it.
Yeah.
I can't think of any though.
Well, there's let's go to some more voicemails here.
Yeah. Okay. You remember on the 21st of May, we talked about the community in Ontario, I think it was called Stittsville, where people were receiving fines or the threats of bylaw-related fines for keeping their basketball nets too close to the street. You remember all that?
I love that story.
It had to do with the garbage truck. A garbage truck hit a basketball net. The owner of the basketball net went at the garbage truck people being like, you should pay for the net. So the garbage truck people went to the city being like, they shouldn't have their nets where it's going to hit our trucks. The city then sent bylaw enforcement in.
It says, move basketball net off roadway.
Christopher Ray is one of several homeowners on Kernsley Way that was ticketed for having a basketball net too close to the road.
Long story short, Sydney from Arkansas didn't understand really the issue or what the whole fuss was about. Here's what Sydney has to say.
Hey Jordan and Aaron, this is Sydney from Arkansas in the U.S. I've called in a few times, but I was just calling in regarding to your latest episode and the story about the basketball nets. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what the scenario is, but I just have one question. Why are there basketball nets in the road? Like, why are these people letting their children play basketball in the middle of the street? I personally don't have any kids, but I just feel like the highway is not a good place to play basketball. So I don't understand why everyone's complaining that their basketball net can't be hanging out in the road. It just seems dangerous to me, and I just feel like that's a stupid place to put a basketball net anyways, because it just is a easier way for somebody to run your kid over when they're texting and driving and not paying attention to the highway. Anyways, love the show. Thank you guys for everything that you do, and keeping Canada weird.
I think what Sydney didn't realize, like she listened to the podcast, she didn't see the news clip. The street that this was involved in was by no means a highway. It was like a small, not a dead end street, but a fairly quiet street in a suburban area. And the basketball nets weren't put in the street. They were on people's front lawns, but right behind the curb. So the net was kind of projected out over the street so the kids could play basketball in the street and throw the ball up and into the net or whatever that was off of the street. So that's what it was. But I think in her mind, she's kind of like, why are they playing basketball in a street? This would be similar to like a game of road hockey or something. Kids shooting hoops in the street. When they see a car coming, they walk off the street. It's not a highway.
Yeah, and maybe that's more common in Canada in the summertime. When the ice is melted, kids play street hockey or road hockey. So a lot of sports do take place in the streets here. So maybe that's more of a Canadian thing. I'm not sure, but
if
the
so,
issue, I mean, we sided with the garbage collectors on the issue.
Yeah, well, I think we answered Sydney's question.
Yes.
We handled that okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go forward in time to our May 28th, 2024 episode. This was a story we got a lot of voicemails about. I'm referring to the mystery of the rotisserie chicken pile found in the Yukon. A voicemail from Liz presents an interesting theory because Liz has experience with a very similar kind of issue. Listen to this.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. This is Liz from Waterloo, Ontario. I have a theory about the rotisserie chickens found in the woods in the Yukon. My mother-in-law lives in Edmonton, and she says that there is a neighborhood woman there who regularly throws a raw, uncooked whole chicken into the woods near her home. It bewildered my mother-in-law, and she told my husband about it. We both wondered why the woman would do this, and it got me thinking. You know, when you're watching a nature documentary and you simultaneously do not want the predator to kill the adorable prey animal and at the same time don't want the predator to go hungry and starve? Maybe the crazy chicken lady really feels bad about all the rabbits and squirrels that get eaten by coyotes and foxes in the woods, but also doesn't want the predators to go hungry. So she misguidedly feeds them, thinking that this will fill them up and save the lives of the cute little bunnies and other animals that live in those woods. This is a completely false concept of how ecology works. If you feed predators, it just increases their carrying capacity of the habitat and causes their population to increase. So in reality, she's just making it worse for those rabbits. Maybe someone in the Yukon had the same terrible idea. In the news clip, they said that it was a time of year when the bears and other animals don't have much to eat. Maybe some animal lover with good intentions but poor judgment decided to disregard all the littering laws and recommendations of conservation experts, and they left the rotisserie chickens and potato fries in the woods for the animals to find and eat during their difficult time of year. This is just a theory. I have no information about the incident in the Yukon, and I have not been in contact with the Edmonton chicken lady. Thank you for making the show. Bye.
I like all the disclaimers at the end.
Yeah. There's a lot to digest there, but it's a very interesting theory, that's for sure.
Yeah, about both cases, because Liz discussed the situation in Edmonton, the lady throwing the chickens away. And then she presents a theory on that, but then suggests that something similar could be happening in the Yukon. long story short is that's a interesting theory. Like I could see somebody thinking that that was a good idea to do, save
Well,
the rabbits or deer or whatever.
yeah, it reminds me of a story that a coworker would tell me. Um, this is like not really the same situation, but it just reminded me of it. She used to feed foxes in her backyard, the like $5 rotisserie chickens from Walmart. So she would buy a few of them and then she would feed the foxes from her back deck.
Oh, I love
Yeah, I
foxes.
I I do too. They're adorable animals, but I wouldn't recommend that behavior.
No,
And I would recommend someone call the police on her.
yeah, certainly, and have her arrested and dealt with.
Have her arrested and finally put behind bars for the criminal that she is.
Just one quick story about feeding animals is where I live in Halifax. There was a large wooded area near me that was over the past several years uh, cut down and is being developed into a neighborhood and this new kind of hospital kind of thing. So long story short, a big forested area was all cut down and now it's gravel and driveways and streets and all this stuff. And ever since that work has started, my neighborhood has been flooded with foxes and raccoons and beavers, and we see a ton of deer. I bring it up all the time because there's deer just forever in front of my house and eating my stuff in my garden and stuff. But anyway, just last week, or no, it was maybe 3 days ago, I was out for a walk around the neighborhood, and there was this deer, not a grown deer, like a baby deer, just kind of just standing there next to a bush, like chewing on the leaves. And you could see, like, for one, that it was alone and that it was very young. It was probably like 3 or 4 months old, all alone. And it was really thin, like you could see its ribs. And it just like kind of looked at me, and in its eyes, its big black eyes that look like 8 balls from a pool table or something. It just kind of looked sad and desperate. And I was like, oh man. And I was very close to my house, so I'm like, this thing's hungry. So I ran across the street and I grabbed an apple from my house. And if you watch me on my YouTube shorts or on TikTok, I think I may have put it on Instagram as well. I walked over to this thing and I just held the apple out, and it was not at all scared of me. It just like walked over, looked at me, and I dropped the apple on the ground, and it just like right in front of me just gobbled up the apple. And I didn't really know what to do. I thought about maybe calling animal control, but then I thought, it's this baby deer. Like, what are they just gonna come and like kill it or something? I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to interfere in nature's process
Yeah,
too
but
often.
nature's
Yeah.
process doesn't involve like clear cutting their homes and driving them into
No, you're right.
neighborhoods.
Yeah, it would really depend on the situation. Because I mean, one thing I'd be worried about is that if you were getting near a young deer like that, is the mother nearby and is she going to come and trample you?
Yeah, well, my thought was the mother probably got hit by a car like a week prior
Maybe,
or
yeah,
something, and
maybe. You
yeah,
don't know, right? It's hard to say when you don't have all the facts.
that's true. And this will be a segue to the next voicemail. I think deer are beautiful creatures and innocent and wouldn't get involved in anything untoward with humans. But little black birds in Ontario, as we heard in our June 18th episode, they are certainly on Team Animal Uprising. They were attacking people all across Ontario on the 18th, as we discussed again on our June 18th episode. And we have a voicemail from a listener named Hunter, who wanted to give his experience dealing with these black-winged birds because he battles these pricks regularly.
Hey, Aaron and Jordan. This is Hunter from Sarnia, Ontario. I absolutely love your guys' show. I'm a relatively new listener, probably started a couple of months ago, and I've been loving it ever since. I get excited for Fridays to sit in my truck and listen to the podcast. So I just listened to the June 18th podcast where you talked about the red-winged blackbirds attacking people in Toronto. And I want you to know that this is not a Toronto isolated incident. Out here in Sarnia, Ontario, I do water treatment, and that means I have to deal with a couple stormwater ponds. Now, these red-winged blackbirds love these stormwater ponds, and I am constantly, at least three times a week, getting bombarded by these birds to the point where I have turned around and, actually like squared up with them and tried to challenge them. And that does not stop them from dive bombing and scaring the shit out of me. So, I just wanted to get my 2 cents in about this red-winged blackbird situation and just let everybody know across Canada to be aware and be ready for these birds. Thank you. Love your guys' podcasts, and I hope you guys have a great day.
I love what we do here is I think Hunter ran like weekly, if not daily, is at battle with this certain type of bird to the point that he's alone on this like this flood reserve thing, squaring up trying to fight birds. He finds this podcast, listens to the work we're doing, and hears us raise the alarm about something that he's dealing with that I'm sure no other podcast in the world will cover.
I want to know, how do you square off with a bird? Like a bird can fly. It's not going to square off with you, right? Like the bird's going to swoop down and dive bomb on you and then swoop back up into the air.
It does this, like, what do you even call that?
You can't really square off with a bird.
You could. I just don't know if that'd be the most effective way to like defend or provide offense in the case of a bird attack, because it would come down from a tree or whatever, flap its wings as it hits you and then flies back up. If you're in that stance where you got your fists up, squared up, ready to throw a punch, like it would be really hard. You would have to have great aim and speed to throw a punch and actually hit the bird. I think a better stance, both offensive and defensively against a bird, would be to take your hat off and maybe like hold it up so that way when it flies down, you whack it with your hat like you would a mosquito or something. I think that would be a better move.
Maybe. I'd probably just run. I probably wouldn't try and fight the birds. I just can't see me being having an effective enough strategy to be able to counteract the ability of flight. I just can't think of a way that I could do that. So I would run, and then I would quit my job and move somewhere where there's not a lot of issues with aggressive birds.
Red-winged blackbirds, yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't our only story related to animals doing horrible things. We have a listener named Laura who, I don't think there's any other way to put this. We don't need to pussyfoot around it. She has a warning for us.
Oh.
Hi, Jordan and Handsome Aaron Airport. This is Laura from coastal North Carolina, and I'm sending you a voice memo with a warning. I was watching a television program this week that shared that there is a large amount of great white sharks assembling off the coast of Nova Scotia. I think this is a direct response to the awareness the two of you have brought to the animal uprising. I think they may be assembling some forces. And if I were the two of you, I wouldn't go in the water.
I'm going to stop it there because this is the voicemail that I referenced earlier, that they have one thought and then they go on to something different. So let's just tackle this first of all. Here's what I think is going on is it's summer. There's a lot of people with headphones on sitting at the beach, basking in the sun. One thing that those people may be doing is listening to podcasts, and the vibrations from their headphones into the sand, into the water, into the sensors. Is it called ears that a shark would have? I'm not surprised that these things are listening in. And Laura talked about hearing reports of sharks gathering on the coast of Nova Scotia. It's funny we talk about this now because earlier today I watched a video of people in Chester, Nova Scotia, watching or they're filming their harbor where it looks like there's like 2 or 3 sharks just like swimming around in there, and everyone was like flipping out scared. But yeah, sharks are seen more often over the last couple months in Nova Scotia, and I don't know if it's us.
A couple of years, yeah. The great white shark population in these waters off of Nova Scotia, yeah, they've started to really put more research into it, tracking them more. So they're seeing them all over the place now. Whereas 20 years ago, you would never really see a great white shark in our waters very often. But climate change is probably a contributor to that. The change in water temperatures are making sharks kind of frolic in our waters more often now.
Scary.
And also, like, there was a big effort to save the shark populations as they were, in the 90s, they were really on the decline.
Yeah, in like the post Jaws era.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a real negative outlook on sharks, but then there was a huge effort, like after a few different documentaries that come out that were very popular, that had kind of got people really on board to save great white sharks, because they realize how important they are to the entire ecosystem of the planet, being the apex predator of the ocean. So,
interesting. You know a lot about sharks.
I love sharks. And if there's one way I want to go, it's to be eaten by a great white shark. Because I believe that the ocean it belongs to the great white. And you dip a toe in the water, you are stepping on great white's territory. You're on their property. Whatever happens to you in that water is your fault, because you went in. I was in today. I wasn't worried. But if I die ever, I want it to be just like the scene in Jaws when the guy is getting eaten off of the boat.
I think that'd be a horrible way to go. If a shark did get me, I'd want it to just be one bite and swallow me whole, not several bites in bits and pieces. But
I want to be flung around a bit, like, like when
really?
they have you, and then you're looking like Kermit the Frog as you're being flailed about by
you're pulled under, and then you come up again, and it's
come up a bit, and then
it's all dramatic,
red water everywhere, and
God,
yeah, I want the whole experience. When you go to Disneyland, you want to meet Mickey Mouse.
Let's as a palate cleanser, Laura has some other thoughts. Let's continue her message.
Also, in past episodes, you have asked why international listeners would tune in to Keep Canada Weird. Well, for me, I really enjoy the sense of humor the two of you have. And I often find myself chuckling out loud with my AirPods in. And also, you use the word pop, not soda. I'm originally from Ohio, and I too use the word pop. So anyone who uses the word pop gets a thumbs up from me. Really enjoy the show. Enjoy all the nighttime podcast episodes. And just thanks for what you do. Have a good day.
So that's what I brought up at the beginning. We call it pop. Although at the beginning when I was like, Coca-Cola is a type of, you said soda, which is really weird because you've always called it pop, and I
always call it pop. Yeah. I don't know why I said soda to you. I just thought you were looking for a very official response from me there. I wasn't.
Yeah, it's I know in other parts of the world it's called like soda and stuff, but yeah, it's on the east coast of Canada.
Soda pop is always what I've kind of heard as the combination of the two is soda pop.
Yeah, but I've like if I'm just talking, not thinking about it, I'm like I need a glass, or I'm going to have a glass of pop, or I don't know if I want to get a coffee. Maybe I'll just drink a pop.
What do they call it on the can here?
You're looking at a
cola.
Can. You're looking at a can of Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
They call it a cola. I feel like cola is like a flavor of pop.
I'm just trying to see if they use the terminology here. Now, this is not Googling. This is a can right in front of me. So
It's
just
a
in
thin
case,
line, though. It's a thin. Pat at
it's a
Peterborough
thin
right now
line.
is
If
like
Pat's listening,
stroking his chin, like,
yeah, they just call it a calorie-free cola.
Okay,
That's
well,
what they call it.
It's not a
So,
cola. It's a pop or a soda, but it's a pop to me.
well, it's Coca-Cola.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. We're wasting a lot of time here, I
okay.
think.
Well, let's get into the last series. We got 2 more voicemails, one and both from the same listener. First, it's kind of a 2-part thing. Ray sends us a voicemail providing an animal uprising story that they were on the front lines of involving wasps. After this voicemail, Ray has some other thoughts in a separate voicemail that I want to end with, but let's first hear about her run-in with wasps. And I hate wasps. I'm terrified of bees.
Hi, Jordan and handsome Aaron. This is your correspondent down here in the United States in Oregon. My name is Ray, and I just have an update about the animal uprising for you guys. Well, it seems like the wasps are definitely part of the uprising. They've been finding ways to break into my home for the last 3 years. Every summer, at the beginning of every summer, they're coming in. And they're not coming in through the windows or the doors. I don't know if it's through vents or if they're materializing now or what, but they're the biggest wasps I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen these kinds of wasps out in nature, let me put it that way. And their stingers are gigantic. They're like the size of syringes. And these little turds are aggressive. They come for you, they come for my dog, and they're not scared at all. And my boyfriend and I have looked for a place to move, but I feel like that's what they want. And I don't want the wasps to get emboldened and feel like they won chasing off the humans. So we are just toughing it out right now, but it's part of their plan, I can tell, is to get us out of here. And I think they know that I now know about the animal uprising because they've only gotten more aggressive. So yeah, I just wanted you guys to know that the animal uprising is happening, and it's happening right here, real time in my home. And, I just wanted you guys to spread the word about that. But thank you guys for your awesome podcast. And I really love listening to you guys. You guys really do make my day. So I hope you guys have a great day as well. And handsome Aaron, I really love you so much. You are my spirit animal. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Wow. Lots to unpack there, but since she called out to you, why don't you take the reins on this one?
Well, calling me her spirit animal and then also talking about the animal uprising in the same voicemail. I'm a little conflicted. I don't know if spirit animal, in the context of what she was talking about earlier in the message, is a good thing or a bad thing, but
yeah,
I'll take it as a compliment for now. And
Aaron Airport, you're my house plant.
Yeah. No. Anyway, I think I can relate to the wasp situation.
Me too.
I've tangled with wasps a number of times on my property, and I know what she's talking about when they somehow get into the house early in the season. It doesn't happen later in the season, but like at the very start of we'll call wasp season, they find their way into the house somehow. And
like
it's not an open window.
Wasps?
Yeah, like just I'll walk into a room and there's just a wasp in there, and I don't know how it got in there.
Yeah, weird. I'd be terrified that they're in my ceiling or in my walls or something. I'm horrified of wasps. And the way Ray described them is they weren't your run-of-the-mill wasps. She was describing these big, what I would call a killer bee with like a syringe for a poker on its butt and everything. I don't like those things, man. They're vicious.
It sounded like she was
scary.
describing a human in a wasp costume holding a knife.
Yeah, holding a syringe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what she's dealing with there. As far as the wasps go, it's at the point where she's considering moving, but she won't let the wasp win. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what advice
It's
to give her.
okay, but it's okay to submit to the animal overlords.
Yeah.
I've submitted from day one as soon as we recognize that there could potentially be an uprising from the animals. I submit to them. They are my overlords, and I want to be eaten by a shark.
Uh, Eaten by a shark is way different than killed by killer bees, though. I don't know if anyone wants to go out like that. There's probably some pervert out there who wants to be mauled by
There's
wasps.
you point at something, there's someone who has a fetish for that thing.
Let's end with this. So Ray left us that voicemail where she proclaimed you her spirit animal, thanked us for the show, but she left another voicemail that I want. I don't know what to say about this other than it's one of the best voicemails and nicest voicemails we've ever got, and it's maybe the reason why I'm so perky tonight. Listen to the wonderful things Ray had to say about Keep Canada Weird and Nighttime.
Hi guys, this is Ray again, your correspondent down here in Oregon in the United States. I left you a message about the animal uprising happening in my home regarding the wasps, but I just wanted to leave you guys a little bit longer of a voicemail and just let you guys know how much I do appreciate your podcast. I discovered you recently on an episode of Morbid when Jordan did the glove guy episode, and that brought me naturally to Nighttime, and I've been pretty addicted ever since, and you guys have kind of become my main podcast that I listen to. And I just wanted to say I suffer from a chronic pain condition, and it keeps me down in bed a lot, and I'm not really able to get out as much as I used to. And mentally, it can do a number on me. And your podcast really helps so much because you guys are hilarious, but you're also very real. And I always feel that Handsome Aaron is pretty much saying exactly what I'm thinking. And I love that. It always gives me a really good chuckle. And Jordan Bust Up Bonaparte, you just seem like the sweetest guy, and I really love both of your opinions and points of view on things. Even though sometimes it's different than mine, I genuinely appreciate your podcast, and I appreciate your subject matter. And
I want to stop for 1 sec because up until this point, it's very complimentary. She continues to compliment us in a way that is so degrading. listen to this. You're gonna like this.
I'm interested.
I know sometimes you guys get hate for like being not educated or whatever people complain about. Everyone's going to nitpick, people are always going to people. And if anyone is coming to listen to your podcast for, factual, like real information and statistics and whatever, then they have the wrong podcast. And I'm fine if you guys get it wrong sometimes. I think it's truly part of your charm, and that's what makes your podcast one of my favorites. And so thank you so much, you guys. And I really sincerely hope that you guys are both doing fantastic. And Handsome Aaron, say hi to Ken, your kitty Ken Tiggs for me, okay? All right, take care, guys.
Wonderful to hear that. Even if, and I did like her defending people accusing us of being uneducated and all that stuff.
I'm glad someone finally gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone finally gets it. It was awesome that you said hello, or said hello to my cat Ken, because he was literally sitting right next to me when that played, and I was just kind of leaning down and petting him. She's like, "Oh, and say hello to Ken." I'm like, "Oh, he's right here, actually."
Weird. Yeah, it's I love podcasts and podcasting, and I love podcasting, but separate to that, I love podcasts. And one of the things I love about it is it's like your friends that don't know you that you listen to, and you take them with you. And if you're lying in bed not feeling well, you can take them there with you and stuff. And like to provide that for someone, I think is really nice. That makes me feel good. Yeah,
Me too.
We do a lot of different. We have a lot of different roles on this show. We raise awareness for a whole bunch of different issues: the mass misbehaving of teenagers, the uprising of animals, all sorts of things. But if we also can provide company and friendship to people across the world, that's pretty sweet and that's pretty special.
Yeah, I agree with you. And my cat Ken Tiggs agrees as well.
Well, don't you, buddy? Meow. Well, we're going to start wrapping it up here, but let this we're going to do more of these mailbags. When we get voicemails, we're going to air them. So if you send us a voicemail by going to nighttimepodcast.com/contact, even if you don't hear it on the regular episodes, you just got to wait a couple weeks and it'll appear in a mailbag unless something weird happens. Like I get lots of ones that are like poor quality audio and stuff, and there's just nothing I can do about it, or they cut off or glitch or something weird. But anyways, in by appearing on the Keep Canada Weird Mailbag episode, you still are an official correspondent and you still qualify for the Keep Canada Weird swag pack. So once you hear your voicemail aired on the show or the mailbag, go to send an email to nighttimepodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what voicemail was yours and give me your mailing address, and I'll get something sent out to you right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get those badges out there so we can get our correspondents hunting down stories for us and helping us keep this country as weird as it can be.
I think when we did the last mailbag, we didn't end with like until next time. Let's say that for the regular episodes. How should we
that should
end
be
a
just
mailbag?
the regular show. I don't think it needs any kind of particular ending. I think we should just let the Keep Canada Weird bag show end
with the bag
just
being
however
shut.
it ends.
Yeah.
Let's close the bag and
let's close the bag on this mailbag episode. Should we?
Let's tie the bag shut until next time, when the bag will be reopened and we shall see the fluttering of letters to the Keep Canada Weird creators, and to have these letters be read upon the ears of the nation and the eyes of the world in these dark, trying times. We shall overcome the non-weirdness with the weird.
Mail. Yep, that's catchy. That'll work. We'll do that every time.
Smooth. It was smooth.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. We will be back in 2 nights with a regular episode. But until then, bye-bye. I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird, but let us also call out to you for even greater support in this work. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, we want to hear about it. As well, if you have any thoughts, theories, opinions, or anything else you want to say about anything we discuss on the show, we want to hear about that as well. You can reach us by going to nighttimepodcast.com/contact and sending us a voice message. And to sweeten that deal a bit, if your voice is aired on the show, you qualify for a Keep Canada Weird swag pack. So if you hear your voice message played, just send an email to nighttimepodcast@gmail.com and give me your mailing address and I'll have one out to you right away. We're excited to hear from you. Now, before we part, let me end with some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Marcia, Alia, and Derek, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those new episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the growth of the show by sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know why they should listen. Your support is very much appreciated. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.